to write stories and scripts and create characters while I'm like writing, taking the order. When the food maker, when they would hand me the food, I'd be like, mouse, hot verde sauce, whatever they say, I put it in their bag and I hand it to them and I go back to my writing. That's where I kind of realized, like, okay, I have so many stories inside of me. They can't fit into Alabama, into my town that I lived in.
No matter where you come from or what challenges you face, remember that you have the power to transform your life. We're bringing you the most inspiring stories and voices from authors who are indeed powerful forces for the culture in their work. These interviews will keep you believing in yourself, inspire you to keep pushing forward, and most importantly, never ever stop dreaming. It's your boy Kolby, and this is the Kolby Kulture Show. Family, what's good? Welcome to the Kolby Kulture Show, the space where Black stories meet big imagination, real conversations, and all the culture that makes us us. I'm your host, Derrick Jakolby Washington, but you know me as Kolby, and today, listen, I already know today's episode is about to be fire because in the studio with me is a brother who is shifting the entire landscape of Black fantasy. He's a playwright, a filmmaker, a storyteller with vision, and the author of the New York Times best-selling books, Blood at the Root and Bones at the Crossroads. Ladies and gentlemen, Kolby Kulture fam, please welcome LaDarrion Williams. LaDarrion, what's good, brother?
What's going on? How you doing?
I'm well, man. I'm well. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Super excited about our conversation today. So let's start where every story starts, at the beginning. You're from Helena, Alabama, small town, Southern, deep roots. Tell me what growing up in Helena gave you creatively, and then what shaped LaDarrion, the storyteller?
Growing up I grew up around a whole bunch of, we grew up in a neighborhood where Black folks, we lived, we laughed and cried and had so much life. Like even like during like the whole like 4th of July, like we didn't care about patriotism. We just, the aunties and the uncles, they like being off work and get to grill and what I'm saying, listening to like Johnny Taylor and having like the uncles be in the front yards, spend, tobacco in the can and the aunties on the porch gossip. It's just that was my life and that was my childhood. And, back then I didn't think how that was going to be so influential in my storytelling. And so I grew up from that and like, there was times I kind of shied away from it. It's like, oh, that's a little embarrassing. Or that's a little, we always say, we be in that mindset that I'm glad that I'm out of. It's like, oh, that's too alley, that's too ghetto. But it's such a beauty and poetry, the way Black folks, especially in the South, live.
Most definitely.
And how there's poetry in the mundane. And I've learned that so much from writers that I looked up to, So all of that, growing up with my mom, my aunties, my uncles, just seeing them, the day to day, that really influenced my writing from a very young age. I honestly didn't take writing seriously until like I was like 16 or 17 in high school, where I had to take a theater class. And in my theater class, my theater teacher kind of introduced August Wilson to me, the first play, which was Fences. And so I kind of got to do like some acting with that. But what really introduced me into writing was Lorraine Hansberry's Raisin in the Sun. That was something that I really gravitated towards and I was really inspired by. And it changed my entire perspective on Black storytelling. So that kind of, with that, going to high school and reading. And I grew up in the also, when I was in high school, it was the big young adult boom, right? Like there was Twilight everywhere. There was Harry Potter. I think Harry Potter was kind of ending, but like, you had Percy Jackson. And so, mixed with, the way I grew up and books that I've read and plays that I've read and doing theater, that kind of made me into the artist I believe that I am today. And so I just, but it's still dealing with, the everyday things that you go through as a teenager, especially as a Black kid in the South that doesn't play football, that doesn't play basketball, and kind of going against the grain a little bit with that. All of that put a lot of inspiration into my story. But, I went off to college. I did 2 years at a PWI, so that trauma is real, in Tennessee. My theater major there, and after having only one role as a slave, I kind of like dropped out and moved back home. But I always felt that I didn't really, yes, Alabama is home, but I felt like I wasn't meant to be there. Like my foundation kept being shaken. You know, I loved writing plays. And at that time, when I dropped out of college, I loved television. And so I was like, well, where to go? How can I be a writer? How can I write for TV? How can I write for the stage? And how can I be an actor? And so it was either New York and LA. And I was like, I don't know about New York. New York get too cold. Like,
Right.
I don't know about that. But, you know, I've always dreamt of like Hollywood and movie making, like that whole process. So one night I was working at Taco Bell, and I remember I was just so depressed after dropping out of college. And I remember getting, you know, you get paid, you know, when you're working in, like, especially in the fast food, you get paid like at 12 o'clock that night. And listen, those are the days.
Listen, I remember them days.
Listen, and I remember getting paid, and I've never been on a plane before. I didn't even know how to buy a plane ticket because I was, you know, this country town, small town black boy. And so I looked up Southwest and I was like, well, how much is a ticket to LA? Like a one-way ticket. And at the time, I can still remember it was $181 flat. And I was like, okay. And I just got paid and I literally bought the one-way ticket. This was 2015. And all my friends and family was like, oh my God, you're so crazy. Why are you doing this? But, you know, I had to get out of there. I had to get out of Alabama. So I packed up 3 suitcases and a dream and moved to LA and kind of went on like the second act of my writing journey, my entire career. And so came out here, you know, struggled, dealt with so much, like dealt with homelessness, dealt with food scarcity and doubt and slam doors in your face and having to kind of create your own opportunities. Really, like, you know, really went the Tyler Perry route, like producing my own plays, producing my own short films. And that's where I had to grow up. I had to come of age of a second time. You know, they say you come of age in your teenage years, but you really come of age in your 20s as well.
Yeah.
And so I went through a lot out here in my 20s, but all of that inspired and cultivated me to be, honestly, the author that I am today. During the pandemic, you know, I made that tweet, what if Harry Potter went to an HBCU in the South? And that tweet kind of, that was the seed. That was the seed that I laid in fertile ground. And that tweet blew up. From there, I made a short film that kind of blew up. And I'm thinking Hollywood was going to call and give me a job, right? Because I have this viral tweet. I have this viral short film about this black boy going to a magical HBCU. And I was just so... At that point, I was broken. I was broken by the system, by Hollywood. I mean, it was a lot going on with COVID and, you know, civil unrest, you know, with George Floyd's murder. It was a lot going on at that time. But I believed in this story. And I don't know. It just wouldn't let me go. And so my friend convinced me to publish it. Because he was like, I remember you talking about Percy Jackson and Harry Potter and Hunger Games. He's like, why don't you turn it into a book? And so... I was like, I don't know. I don't know. Because I stopped reading for years, honestly, after high school. Because I just got tired of not, you know what I'm saying? Like seeing the young black men as the hero, right? Like, I got tired of not seeing my friends. Like, I mean, I consider Percy as a brother. Because, I mean, what white boy named Percy? Let's just be honest. I mean, Percy and Jackson, let's be honest. But, you know, going to those movies and seeing us as the sidekick, I kind of just got tired of that. And also... I got tired of seeing young black men being like killed off, you know, in movies and shows. And as a black man, I lived that. And so I was like, I want to do something different. And so I went to Barnes & Noble and I was like, hey, I want to get back into reading. So, but I told the clerk, I said, hey, I'm looking for a young black boy on the cover of a young adult fantasy book. Like, do you have anything? And like, she was like, no, we really don't have any. And she felt so embarrassed. I can remember this day clearly. I tell the story all the time, but I made that decision right then and there. I was like, oh, you know what? Okay, then I can't give up on that tweet that I made. I can't give up on that short film that I made. And so I went home from that Barnes and Noble, and I wrote the first draft of Blood at the Root in 12 days.
Wow.
Yeah, I locked myself in my apartment and. I think Malik at that time really fully manifested himself to me, and he was like, "Yeah, you're gonna tell my full story." And so I wrote the book, and you know, once you write the book, you think like, "Oh, that's it, my job is done," right? Like I'm gonna self-publish it, I'm gonna put it out there. But as I was working with the editor, shout out to Margot West, and I always have to shout her out because of her and her belief in me. This is why I am where I am today, and so. She was like, no, LaDarrion, I think you have to you have to traditionally publish this book because this is something that the industry needs. And I said, oh, I don't know. Because at that point, I started really researching about the publishing industry. And I was like, they don't really like black boys as the main character. I don't know. Especially a black boy like Malik. I don't know about that. But eventually we got my book together. I ended up getting an agent after being rejected by hundreds and hundreds of agents. And me and my agent worked on the book. And we submitted it to publishers. We submitted to like 28 editors at all the big 5 publishers. I'm gonna be real. 28 of them, we submitted to 30, and 28 of them rejected Blood at the Root. They rejected it. They said that it wasn't marketable, that they really couldn't connect to the voice, which we all know what that means. We know what they can't connect to the voice. 4 months into submission, Blood at the Root was finally picked up. In a 3-book deal, and that was January 19th, 2023. And, and it published in May 7th, 2024 and hit the New York Times. And now the sequel is out. And I literally just turned in the 3rd book to my publishers.
Yes.
Here we are in a very speed rail version of my journey.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna jump into some. I mean, you definitely just spit some knowledge. We're gonna jump into some of that.
Yeah.
But you know what I love? A lot of brilliant Black creators come out of the South, and they often talk about imagination being this type of survival. Did you feel that need to kind of dream outside of what you saw?
Absolutely. I mean, the South always got something to say. We got something to say. Absolutely. I think because too, like I said, there's so much poetry in the South. Like we have our greats that wrote about the South. We have like the August Wilsons and the Lorraine Hansberry. Like we have like even the Terrell Alvin McCraneys and the Katori Hall who wrote, created P Valley. There's so much poetry in the South and so much folklore that I feel like we really don't get to see.
Yeah.
Growing up in high school, they only teach you about Greek mythology. Like we didn't learn about African mythology. I grew up in the South where, we had the candy lady in the neighborhood.
Yes.
But like but I didn't realize how big of a staple that the candy lady was in the neighborhood, and also how that connects to Black American Southern spirituality. The candy lady in the neighborhood is basically, the house is apothecary, and like she like I didn't realize that our candy lady not only provided sweets, but she also provided medicine. She provided, healing and a laying on the hands. And so I grew up from that, and I came from that, and also growing up in the Southern Baptist church, how connected it was to hoodoo. And I didn't realize that until I started researching about hoodoo and how that practice, that beautiful sacred practice, it has gotten our ancestors through it. And we're still practicing it today. Some Christian folks, Black folks, they was like, I don't know about that hoodoo is that devil worship. But it's like, no, it's not. It's a part of us. It's in our blood. It's in our history. And it's in the land, that the South is in. It definitely, absolutely to your question.
Yeah. And so then you talked a little bit about this earlier. You jumped and you packed up and moved to LA.
Yeah.
That leap is not small. What was the moment when you said, nah, I'm doing this thing for me?
Man, I think it was when I was working the drive-thru at Taco Bell. I don't even know. I don't remember the customer. I think it was when I was writing my scripts in the drive-thru at Taco Bell. I literally used to write stories and scripts and create characters while I'm like writing, taking the order. When the food maker, when they would hand me the food, I'd be like, Mouse, hot verde sauce, whatever they say, I put it in their bag and I hand it to them and I go back to my writing. That's where I kind of realized, like, okay, I have so many stories inside of me. They can't fit into Alabama, into my town that I lived in. They couldn't fit. It was going to explode out, right? And so once I think that was the moment. I think is when I was in that drive-thru and I realized that if I don't get out of here, I was getting to a point where I really didn't want to exist anymore.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And so, because I feel like being a creative is so spiritual, and like once you're, whatever you believe in, God, your ancestors or whoever, like they gonna shake your foundation. You know what I'm saying? For you to move. And I felt like my foundation was I was trying to go to college. I was like, okay, well, I'll go to community college. That fell through. I was like, okay, well, I'll wait to go back to college. After I dropped out of college, I'll wait to go to this, like to an HBCU in like Alabama State or something. That fell through. So I felt like every closed door, that my ancestors was like closing and God was closing, was leading me to LA. And ever since I moved to LA, I think that's why I am in the position that I am. If I would have stayed, I don't think none of this would have been. We wouldn't be talking, honestly,
Yeah,
probably. You know what I'm saying?
I hear
Yeah,
that. I mean, I hear that. Like sometimes the universe, the world, like you said, whoever it is that you believe in will shake you to your core until you move.
absolutely.
So yeah, I absolutely get that. Something I admire about your story is you kept telling it even when the industry didn't get it yet.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
wrote plays, you made films, you kind of kept on
Hmm.
creating, and so that kind of tenacity, that's really Black excellence in motion. So I absolutely
Yeah.
applaud you for that. Okay, so let's talk about the tweet because this tweet is legendary. You tweeted if Harry Potter went to an HBCU in the South, and so
Yeah,
when I
yeah.
listened, I can be honest and say when I read that, I was thinking like, oh, he's speaking directly to me and my student loan debt, right?
Okay.
And so when that thought hit you, did you know it was like a whole universe that you were creating, or did it start small?
I didn't know. Like, it was, it was during the pandemic. We was inside the house, eating snacks,
Yeah,
still trying to lose that weight off. I'm trying to get this weight off from the pandemic. Watching Moesha, watching the park, his girlfriends, and
yeah,
I was just tweeting randomly. And I didn't think, but again, it's the seed, right? In fertile ground. Like, you never know. And like, even with even when I told my friends we couldn't get hand sanitizer, we couldn't get toilet paper, but I was like, y'all want to go shoot a short film? And they was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, we just got to be safe. But I was like, let's do it. So we were all over LA. We snuck onto the UCLA campus. Shout out to the people who were ever there that day that did not arrest us, because we had not nan permit to shoot there. And when we were shooting, like, we shot at the actual gas station. So
mm,
for those that read the book, the gas station scene in Blood at the Root, like, we shot that at an actual gas station in the short film. And when we were making it, I was like, this is something special. Even my friends was like, yo, like, I believe this is something that's going to take off. And when it it's funny when you look back. When you're in the storm, you're looking like, oh, I can't wait to get to the other side. But when you're on the other side, you look back, I was like, I know why my ancestors and God took me on that detour. I didn't get this opportunity because if I would have got that opportunity, it would have messed everything up here. And
yeah,
so I always call that short film, right? The little short film that could, because that was my manifestation. That was my seed. I was every day that I was sending that short film out, and it was getting rejected by almost every single short film festival that I submitted to.
hmm
I didn't know that short film festival and that tweet was going to be to get me getting a book deal. So you just never know, right? Whatever, those are listening, whatever you're into, like singing, dancing, writing, whatever's your passion, you never know those little small beginnings, right? I mean, I know a lot of us don't agree with Tyler Perry, but I agree with him when he says never despise small beginnings,
that's it. Yeah,
because you never know where that small beginning is going to take you. And those detours and those, rejection, I've learned now was just redirection. You know what I'm
rejection,
saying? Like,
direction. Yeah,
redirection. I'm trying to get on, I'm trying to go this way, but my journey is like, no, you got to get off this exit. And you
right.
may go through a few stoplights, but you're still going to get to that destination. Now, once you get to that destination, we're going to have the party ready for you, right? So that's what I'm looking back at it now. It's so funny but when you're in it, you don't look at it that way.
Right.
you
See,
know?
this is what I wanted the listeners to catch. You didn't wait
Yeah,
for a studio. You didn't wait for permission. You built the world first, and now that world
absolutely.
is sitting on bookshelves around the world. So
Absolutely.
that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So for those who haven't read it yet, paint the picture. What is Blood at the Root? Who is Malik? And what makes a magical HBCU the perfect setting?
Yeah, so Blood at the Root, which is the first in a trilogy, it is a young adult contemporary fantasy surrounding a young black boy from Helena, Alabama, my actual hometown.
Yeah.
He is blessed with ancestral magic, and he gets accepted into this illustrious university called Came University. And he must go there to kind of like learn about his ancestral magic, his family lineage. But also his mom went there and he has no idea because she's been missing for like 10 years. So
Mhm.
now he has to go to this university to kind of uncover some dark secrets surrounding her mysterious disappearance. So it's a trilogy. Blood at the Root is part one, Bones at the Crossroads is part two. And everything that happens in Bones at the Crossroads is spilled over from Blood at the Root. And you see Malik navigating homecoming, friendships, heartbreak, more family secrets. You get to see some familiar characters that we've learned. If If you really down with like the Black American folklore, you get to see some actual characters in Bones at the Crossroads. And it's also him coming to terms with, you know, his childhood trauma. And we're looking at that through the lens of magic. So that's what it's about, you know, and that's what people are going to get out of the books.
Yeah, I love that so much because we always talk about representation, but rarely do we talk about reclamation, claiming our genre,
Absolutely.
mythology, ancestry, all of that. And you're
Absolutely.
absolutely doing that.
Absolutely.
So you're not just a novelist, you're a playwright with award-winning shows, you're a
Yeah.
filmmaker, you write for the stage, the screen, and the page. So let's talk about craft. How does being a playwright shape the way you write your novels?
Oh, that's a great question because writing a novel is so different. It's like it feels like it's like the back part of my brain, and playwriting is like the left, and screenwriting is like the right. So I have to use all of it, right? I think with when it comes to my playwriting, again, I really immerse my plays in Black Southern culture. Like you know, in my plays, you gonna hear, you know what I'm saying, you gonna probably hear your grandmama on stage. You probably gonna hear your aunties and your mama on stage, or your uncles, right?
Yeah.
And so I wanted the dialogue to be authentic to the way Black folks in Helena talk. And you know, sometimes a lot of people didn't understand that. A lot of people criticized it, and it's okay. But when you actually have people from that area or from Alabama, it's like, oh man, like Malik talks just like my little brother, or Mama Aya sounds just like my grandmama. Like, you know what I'm saying? Infusing like songs into the book, like that was very important to me. Again, I've learned from August Wilson, I learned from Lorraine, I learned from you know, Katori Hall and Dominic Mariso, like to write the poetry of the everydayness of Black folks in the South. Yeah. And so that's how a lot of my playwriting really informed writing this book. So you might read the book and you might like, why did he spell it this way? Well, also I can't forget Zora. So sorry. I can never forget Zora Neale Hurston. Even the way she wrote Black folks in their eyes will watch God, even all through her works, like she wrote how Black folks talked in Eatonville, like down to the phonetic spellings. And so I wanted to incorporate that into my books, but that came from all of my writing plays. I wanted the dialogue. I didn't want Malik to sound like he's in a Shakespearean play. I wanted him to sound like a Black kid from the South, from Alabama. I wanted him to sound like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, to be real and authentic. And, you know, some people love it, some people don't. And that's just the nature of the game, you know?
I love that. I love that. And it's wild because when I read your dialogue, I hear it. It feels like people I know. It feels like cousins I grew up with, professors I've had. It really feels what I would say lived in, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And so, and then you made the Blood of the Root short film. What did seeing your world on camera teach you about the universe that you're building?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. I haven't been asked that before. I was just really grateful to see us as Black people to be magical and be whimsical in a fantasy story. Like when we were shooting on an actual college campus, right? We got to pretend that we had magic and to really build out that world. That short film was just a little piece, obviously. It was just a little piece of that of the magical world. But it really, as I was writing Blood at the Root, I would go back and watch the short film. I'm like, I wish I could have went deeper, but now I can, but because I'm writing a novel. But with the short film, you know, it costs money. Like I had to pay for that by myself, you know, and so, but with the book, I wanted to create, because I grew up, and I have to let people know, I grew up around HBCUs. Like the HBCU is not foreign to me. I've had cousins and siblings go to Alabama State, Alabama A&M. Shout out to Go Hornets. So the HBCU experience wasn't foreign to me, but I wanted to kind of heal that part of myself that didn't get to go. And so that's why I created Kamen University, right? He learns about, you know, Black American history, and even on his first day, he goes, like, he takes a trip to the Haitian Revolution. You know, he's literally to Haiti to see the Haitian Revolution unfold right in front of him. Because I believe now that, you know, Black history is being erased and it's being challenged. And I, as a Black man from the South that's writing stories like this, I can't go to the computer and play around because you never know. Like, a kid might pick up this book and say, oh man, I didn't even know about the Haitian Revolution, but let me go look that up.
Yeah.
Man, that's our history, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so but again, it came from that little short film, like, and me wanting to kind of create this world where Black people get to be at the epicenter
Yeah.
of a fantasy story, especially for a Black boy. You don't see a lot of Black boys as Black teenage boys at the epicenter of a fantasy world where it's his perspective, and it's unapologetic, and
Hmm.
because I have no choice to be right, because
Yeah.
August Wilson taught me to always get it right. You got to get it true. Always get it true. And so I wanted to. I not say and I introduce people to hoodoo, but maybe when people read my book, they're like, "Well, what is hoodoo?" I've always had like an aversion to it, but the way LaDarrion wrote about it, it's our power, it's our
Yeah.
superpower. Let me go study it or maybe practice it myself.
Yeah. It encourages people
So
to dig deeper.
to dig deeper because it's part of our as Black folks in America. It's a part of your history.
Absolutely.
It's literally in your blood, and like you said earlier, like reclamation, right? Like even down to the title,
Hmm.
"Blood at the Root" is I'm reclaiming. That's why I put on the book cover for those that see like this beautiful dark skinned Black boy in a hoodie, because when I was in college, the Trayvon Martin case was happening,
Yeah.
and wearing a hoodie as a tall Black man was a no. You know what I'm saying? Because it was that was seen as a threat. But now you get to see this beautiful Black boy on this cover in a hoodie, and he's standing in front of a Spanish moss tree with blue bottles hanging from the branches, and you know what I'm saying, and like he's tapping into his ancestral magic.
Yeah.
But it all started from that one short film, and I got to see visually what this could be.
Love that. So you've built this universe across mediums, right? But do you see
Mhm.
them all as like one world, or is the novel different from the screenplay, different from the stage play? Like,
I
how do you?
mean, it's so funny you say that because I have another play. It's called The Odyssey of Tyrell James, and Malik and him are distant cousins because Tyrell, and the play is about this young Black kid in Memphis. He gets, he's in the gangs. He's in the drugs. People think Malik is bad. That Tyrell is something. He's something. Ooh, that boy is devious. But he gets snatched back to 1831 to meet his ancestors in a slave shack. And his ancestors is Miriam and Ephraim. And for those that know, that read the books, Miriam and Ephraim are Mama Aya and John Henry's mom and dad. They're so absolutely a lot of my work is connected. You meet characters in Blood at the Root that are actually in my plays, but
Mhm.
are actually in my other fantasy works as well. So it's Blood at the Root is a part of this universe that I'm creating. That people are gonna, when they read other works of mine, they're gonna be like, "Oh snap, he said that in Blood at the Root. Snap, I
Yeah.
met this character in the Bones of the Crossroads. That's wild. So
I, I,
yeah,
I love that synergy there. Let's talk about the second book, Bones at the Crossroads. So this book is
yeah,
out now, and it's doing
it's out
exactly
now.
what a sequel should do, deepening the
Yeah,
story, and kind of raising the stakes and expanding Malik's world. And
hmm,
so the title, inspired by Bone Thugs and Harmonies, the
absolutely.
Crossroads. That's
Yeah.
culture, brother. That's grief. That's legacy. What does the Crossroads symbolize for
Oh,
Malik?
that's a great question as well. The crossroads symbolizes he's going to have to make a choice. And when you're at the crossroads, and spiritually, when you're at a crossroads, you have to go. You have to go. You
Hmm.
can't just sit there. You have to go somewhere, right? If he goes left, he may mess up some things, or it might be the best choice. He goes right, that might be the worst choice. So yeah, so when Malik, when you're actually looking at the book cover, Malik is literally standing at a crossroads and he's tapping into his ancestral magic, and you see the smoke and you see the faces of the enslaved folks that came before him, because they're guiding him to honestly the art of letting go, but also healing,
Mm.
because now he has to choose that trauma or he has to choose healing.
Yeah.
Which one will he choose? He can't choose both.
Yeah.
And so that's what the crossroads means for him. And yeah, it was definitely inspired by Bone Thugs and Harmony, because I remember that music video as a kid, and that music video always stuck with me. And so as I was writing book 2, I was like, what would be the perfect title? I was like, Bones at the Crossroads. So
Mhm.
that's what that second book is gonna entail. But there's a lot of fun moments. There's a lot of joy, a lot of homecoming. So again, we're at the HBCU, so we're gonna see homecoming, which is fun, which is such a fun part of the book. But yeah, Malik definitely has to he has to make a choice between trauma and healing. So which one will he choose?
Got it. Got it. So Blood of the Root introduced the world. Bones at the
Mm-hmm.
Crossroads is saying, I'm evolving the magic, I'm deepening kind of
Yeah.
stage. So how did you approach writing a sequel that had to feel familiar but also elevate the story?
I mean, honestly, it's honestly Blood at the Root was for me to heal my inner child, my inner teenager. But Bones at the Crossroads, that's where Malik really took over. That's where he was like, brother, this is my story. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is where I want to go. And so, like, writing is for me is so spiritual. Like that, my characters are real. Like Malik is a real person in my head, and so I had to make it familiar, but I also wanted to set up like you said, like new stakes and new characters, and also a continue. I've never wrote a sequel to anything before, so that was like a learning. That was kind of like a learning curve that I had to learn as well. So yeah, like I wanted to go deeper into the world, and you know, you listen to the first book, you see reactions, and you see like kind of like, you know, questions that audiences have, and you wrestle with that. I had to wrestle with Bones at the Crossroads, and I had to wrestle with Blood at the Root, but more so Bones at the Crossroads, because I was like, okay, well, I kind of want to make the story go this way, and Malik is like, no, this is my story. It got to go this way, and so I just had to be the vessel, and I just had to listen to my character, and so you know, I had to place in like little tidbits, you know, like I said, the homecoming, but also you get to meet secret societies. You know, there's a secret society on campus that you meet. Yeah, so you know, writing a sequel is hard. It's just very hard. I don't even know how to explain it really, but I wanted to make it both familiar but also fresh as well. But also a callback. I think well, if you grew up in the church, a call and response. The call and, you know, Bones at the Crossroads is the response. So, you know, like I just grew up in that way, and I wanted to infuse that into the pages of these books.
Love it. So without any spoilers, what can readers expect in Malik's next chapter?
Malik is going to address that childhood trauma face on. And healing means, you know, you're healing, but also healing, you know, healing that family trauma.
Yeah.
You know, we all go through it.
That's it.
Sometimes you got to let people go, and you got to love folks from a distance, right? And I think that's the biggest learning, the biggest lesson that Malik is going to learn in book 3 is loving people from a distance. Mm-hmm. But when you love people from a distance, that's, you know, you got to cut some things off. So that's what's coming in book 3, the final book in the trilogy. Okay. Which is sad, you know, but it's bittersweet. But I'm ready to let this world go now, because I completed what I sought after. So yeah.
Love that. So you're building a trilogy, as you mentioned. Book 2 proves you're not just a one-hit wonder, brother. You're creating a legacy. And so what do you hope the series lands in the larger Black fantasy conversation?
That, you know, I have to be real and say this, that these books are a conversation about Black boys and how they're held to a higher standard in the publishing industry. That look at, you know, everybody that's listening, look at your young Black men in your families. You know, they may be dealing with, you know, childhood abuse, right? They may be dealing with sexuality. They may be dealing with, you know, friendships and heartbreak. Don't push them to the side because they're, you know what I'm saying, like, because we have this tendency, especially with young Black men, to, if they don't act a certain way, they don't matter, right? And so I want every young Black boy, especially walking into that bookstore and seeing Blood at the Root and Bones at the Crossroads and the third book, and be like, oh my God, like, that dude on that book cover looks just like me. I want to read his story. Oh, Malik is literally me. So I want to keep pushing forward, and I want to continue to heal my scars and my wounds. And so that's what I really, really want Blood at the Root to you know, leave in that legacy, and to incorporate everybody, Black boys, queer. Yeah, I was just saying, like, queer Black folks and queer Black boys and all of it. Everybody that's Black, you know what I'm saying? Like, and our spirituality is just as beautiful and complex as everybody else's.
So good. So yeah. I think that brings me to this next question. Something I felt like reading your work, especially as a Black man, is how you handle Black masculinity. So Malik is powerful, yes, but he's also very vulnerable. He's emotional. He's human. Was that really intentional?
Absolutely. Because he says it, right? He says it throughout the book that, you know, Black boys, like, even the first line in Blood at the Root, Black boys like me don't have magic powers. Like, that line itself is kind of like the moral compass of the entire series. But even as Malik is diving into therapy in book 2, and he's learning that, you know, his masculinity, his magic, it's not seen as bad, but also his vulnerability is not seen as bad. He could be vulnerable because he learns that he always says, I want to give Tay the childhood that I never had. And like, he has to constantly be reminded, like, you're just a kid yourself. You're still a kid too. So healing his inner child, but also healing that inner teenager right now and addressing those problems right now. So it doesn't affect, his future. And so, yeah, we're really going to get to learn a lot more about that in book 3. But yeah, get to be vulnerable. I love his relationship with Adilo, his roommate, which is based off of a real person, and the bromance, right? Call it like they have a great bromance because they get to just be each other, themselves right in front of each other and say, I love you, and hug and be tender with one another. And so that was very, very, very intentional.
Yeah, and the reality is we all need that. Like, I feel like every brother needs a brother that they can confide in, a friend that they can confide in, and be their absolute authentic self. I think so many of us are walking around, wearing this facade of this mask because society almost makes us, so to speak. And so to have that level of comfortability or vulnerability, or that individual to be vulnerable with, I think that is so important. So I'm glad that you highlighted that in the book. And then there's a spiritual undercurrent, right? There's ancestral magic, Southern Black spirituality that you talked about earlier, a little church, a little hood, a little my grandma said, don't play with spirits, right?
Okay.
How did your upbringing influence the magic system?
I mean, I look back now, like, I remember watching my auntie sweep from the back of the house all the way to the porch and to the sidewalk, I remember my mama having the cinnamon broom on the wall, and, the remedies that she would all, when you get sick or you have any ailments. Like, I remember that. I remember going to church and watching the aunties and the deacons pass out, right, and speak in tongues, and even down to our dances, even down to our music, and how Malik, if people notice that read the books, like a lot of the open one-liners of the chapters are song lyrics. Even Bones at the Crossroads, there's a leak in this old building. Like, that's a song that people in Hoodoo use, and I've learned that. And when I did a deep dive into the blues and soul music, like, it came from our pain, but it also came from the glory of being Black. So I wanted to infuse all of that into the book. And so, but I came from that. I came from the blues. I came from the country music. I came from Southern Baptist culture, and realizing that all of that was because they used to meet in the midnight hour. That's why they say that, because the enslaved folks used to meet in the midnight hour, and they used to do the Juba dancing and the ring shout, and they used to call upon their gods and their ancestors to get them through. And so I came from that, and we just call it a different thing, obviously, but yeah.
And finally, for the young LaDarrians listening, the Black kids with notebooks, with ideas, with worlds in their heads, what do you want them to know?
That you do have magic, and that your story matters, but your laughter matters, but also your righteous rage matters too as well. Your pain and your frustration, your glory and your anger matters as well. It all matters, and it makes you up to be a fully realized human being. That's what these books are for. It's to showcase fully realized human beings. You may not always agree with them. They may say the wrong thing, but I wanted to, when I put words on the page, I want to make sure that these characters are fully realized human beings, and when readers read it, they can really identify themselves, the same way that I tried to do with Percy Jackson. So I want young, Black boys to say, man, LaDarrion really wrote this specifically for me.
So good.
And I, what I'm saying, and we need more stories, and hopefully they get inspired to write their own stories. So that's what I wanted to say.
That's what's up. That's what's up, brother. Thank you. Thank you. This conversation fed me. Your work is really shifting the landscape of fantasy, and it's giving Black boys space to be magical in ways we haven't seen before. And so I want you to know that matters. Family, go get Blood of the Root and Bones at the Crossroads. Support Black imagination. LaDarrion, where can we find, or where can folks find you, rather?
All on social media. My username is at It's LaDarrion, ITSLADARRION. I'm pretty accessible. People DM me, like, I try to answer, and
answer my DM, y'all.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like I try to answer and repost and reshare because I it really means the world to me. So yeah, that's where you can follow me.
Yeah, that's what's up. Y'all make sure you connect with him, support him, and stay rooted in the culture. Listen, this has been the Kolby Kulture Show. I'm your host, Derrick Jakolby Washington, aka Kolby, reminding you to live boldly, create fearlessly, and protect your magic. We'll see you on the next
Dang.
Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to follow the show wherever you listen to your podcast. Watch, like, and subscribe on YouTube. And please feel free to give us a 5-star rating. See you on the next one.